Excerpts from Physics Division Field Manual 13. Special Circumstances, Humanoid Threat Entities. Type Yellow, Polymorph. Introduction. Polymorphs, type yellows, sometimes called shape changers or shapeshifters by operatives in the field, are entities that possess an inherent ability to manipulate or otherwise alter their physical form and appearance. Despite several defined types of type yellows existing, they have proven difficult in the past for even inexperienced assessment teams to identify and difficult for strike teams to pursue, given their amorphous nature. Most type yellows retain intelligence through their polymorphing, and type yellows that do not retain intelligence through polymorphing are incredibly rare. Methods in which to identify and liquidate type yellows are found below. Classifications. Conditional polymorphs. Type yellows classified as conditional polymorphs do not have control over their polymorphic abilities. Rather, their polymorphism it is triggered through a sequence of events or when certain conditions are met. Conditional polymorphs appear with significant frequency in folklore and mythology. Examples of this include, but are not limited to, a kiss transforming an animal into a human transforming into a wolf transforming into a human, or either turning human-wolf hybrid upon a full moon or contact with wolfsbane. Seals who are able to take a human form for 1 day a year by taking off a layer of skin. Basic observations are required to determine if a type yellow is a conditional polymorph rather than an unconditional or modeled polymorph. Unconditional polymorphs are type yellows classified as unconditional polymorphs are nearly identical to conditional polymorphs, but are able to transform from one form to another freely. Unconditional polymorphs are often far more trained in the application of their abilities than conditional polymorphs. Most unconditional polymorphs still only possess one form apart from their humanoid state. Some unconditional polymorphs have a degree of control in their transformation, in the form of using their transformation abilities, wherein their bodies take on elements of their other form. However, much like conditional polymorphs, very few unconditional polymorphs can intentionally induce partial transformation of the body, so any changes achieved through hybridization are largely uniform. Modeled polymorphs are type yellows classified as modeled polymorphs gain their name due to the unique pattern of their abilities. While a conditional polymorph cannot take the form it takes, a modeled polymorph is both able to transform at will and possess multiple forms that it can take. In a few cases, modeled polymorphs have been observed to hybridize multiple forms together, though this is thought to be an exceedingly rare ability amongst modeled polymorphs. Modeled polymorphs can typically acquire additional forms, though this process may require strenuous and continuous practice and may take weeks, months, or years, depending on the strength of their abilities, the deviancy of the form they wish to attain as compared to their base form, and their level of experience. This process may also require additional resources, such as bones, blood, or skin belonging to the form they wish to emulate, or specific ritual proceedings. Modeled polymorphs may possess forms selected for specific circumstances and situations, often either to defend themselves or to escape capture, while the predominant majority of modeled polymorphs take the shapes of other animals, most often a similar mass to themselves. Several have been observed to use their abilities to take the shape of other humans and humanoids. This poses a massive potential for misuse, but is exceedingly difficult to detect. Controlled polymorphs are type yellows classified as controlled polymorphs have the highest degree of control over their abilities to manipulate and alter their physical forms, though they still operate with limitations. Controlled polymorphs can transfer mass from any part of their body, excluding vital organs, and either transform it to other parts of their body or create new parts, usually extremities, from that mass. In combat, controlled polymorphs usually utilize this ability to grant themselves additional limbs for the purposes of attacking and defending at close range, or additional organs to increase their chances at survival. Through rigorous testing on behalf of several assessment teams, it was discovered that most controlled polymorphs can safely generate up to 200% to 500% of their body mass to construct extra organs, limbs, and bones. Despite this, a controlled polymorph cannot immediately recreate or regenerate any parts of their body as they were before they were damaged or destroyed, similar in a way to a flawed regenerator. It must be noted that while these controlled polymorphs may display many similar traits to regenerative anomalies, they achieve these effects through their abilities as a polymorph, and therefore will not emit the same etheric resonance as a type red threat entity. Of note, controlled polymorphs are not known for achieving the same precision in transformation into animals or other humans when compared to a conditional polymorph or modeled polymorph can achieve. And this may be due to the fact that controlled polymorphs are fully responsible for the conscious control of their shape, while conditional polymorphs either lack conscious control of their form, and modeled polymorphs rely on rituals or practice to stabilize their shapes. True polymorphs. Perhaps the most rare variety of polymorph that the GOC has discovered. For a type yellow to be considered a true polymorph, it must meet the following criteria: the lack of a base form to return to, the non-reliance on vital organs such as the heart or brain for life and consciousness, the ability to transform into any animal shape or human shape regardless of differences in mass with minimal effort, and rarely, the ability to transform into non-organic materials such as stone, metal, mist, or fire. Ptolemy researchers have long suspected a link between polymorphs and the nameless, of which true polymorphs are likely the least dilute in this relation. These theories have not been verified. Atypical and complex polymorphs. While the coalition tends towards broad categories and trends, in truth, type yellows are one of the most diverse categories of threat entity, and a significant amount of them will not cleanly map to any category. In most cases, these polymorphs are atypical, still operating within the boundaries of their type. In other cases, a polymorph will display abilities more in line with another threat type entirely. These type yellows are considered complex polymorphs. Perhaps the most common example of this would be a contagious variety of lycanthropy, which spread by saliva or injuries that break the skin, and would accordingly be considered type yellow-silver by the coalition. In a few rare cases, the GOC has encountered regenerative polymorphs who possess a level of regeneration that maps to a full or expanding regenerator, and who emit the according etheric resonance, and thus qualify as yellow-red. Perhaps the rarest variety that can still be considered common are threat entities who gain polymorphic capabilities after dying and reanimating, earning them the ignoble threat profile of yellow-gray. Commonly mistaken, there are several other humanoid threat entities that can easily achieve the same shape-changing ability of a type yellow through other means. One example of this would be known threat entity 1208 Green Beerus, a type green who was known to use its reality altering abilities to achieve a form of imperfect polymorphism. The current whereabouts of known threat entity 1208 are currently unknown after the threat entity was abducted by the Foundation, KTO, CUPE, in 2008. Other threat entities that are commonly mistaken for being polymorphs include Type Blue, Thaumaturgus, Type Cyan, Specters and Apparitions, and most commonly, Type Pink, Human Hybrids. Identification and methods. Identifying a threat entity as a Type Yellow usually starts with local accounts, especially in areas known to have local folklore involving shape-changing entities. Once a specialist assessment team, example given, assessment team Proteus, is sent out to investigate that area, they will set up a 24/7 observation area of 5 to 25 square miles, depending on the size of the area in which the Type Yellow was spotted. The assessment team must inspect the local population while maintaining the second mission, concealment, goals. Determining a Type Yellow in a population may require establishing a list of suspects and covertly installing Veritas resonance imaging technology to screen for potential threat entities. While the Veritas system is capable of detecting the particular resonance signature of a Type Yellow, it does have limited range and may not lend reliable results when used on a Type Yellow who is not presently in the process of changing their shape. If Veritas technology is required to find a Type Yellow, it is recommended to be used in several spots, usually 6, around the observation area, so the full area can be mapped and searched over for Type Yellows. If the amount of possible suspects is very low, or only one, those suspects, or a single suspect, should be given small, visible injuries, such as cuts, and once a transformed Type Yellow is spotted, if the injury remains in the Type Yellow's polymorphed form, it can be safely assumed that the Type Yellow is from the pool of suspects. When deceased, most Type Yellow will revert to their natural forms, after which a DNA sample can safely be taken and tested to confirm the identity of the threat entity. Threat levels. Forward. Despite what you may think about the importance of this section, it is a necessary addition. These ideas of threat levels are general, though they do apply to a majority of real cases. Conditional polymorphs have been proven to be simpler to identify than other Type Yellows, as under constant observation, the conditions met for conditional polymorphs to transform can be deducted easily, especially while Veritas resonance imaging technology is in use. How to proceed after discovering a Type Yellow among a population is described in Engagement and Capture. Conditional polymorphs in human form, and anyone within a population being observed, are considered response level 1 by default, though if a Type Yellow has been identified, they are to be considered response level 2. However, a Type Yellow's response level, once identified, can vary from a response level 1 to 4, depending on the danger of their polymorphed forms. Identifying controlled polymorphs hostile to the GOC and or humanoids are to be considered response level 3 upon an order to engage given by the overseer currently overseeing the observation area the Type Yellow is within. If the overseer in the overseeing an observation area currently housing a controlled or modeled polymorph does not give the order to engage the Type Yellow, it is to be considered response level 2 and captured immediately when most convenient. All atypical and complex polymorphs are to be considered response level 4, especially when information on them is limited. Engagement and capture. Though most conditional polymorphs and modeled polymorphs can be incapacitated and even liquidated rather easily due to their predictable and recorded forms, usually through the use of standard firearms and ordnance, controlled polymorphs are sometimes on par in threat level with an expanding regenerator, and true or complex polymorphs frequently exceed the capabilities of typical polymorphic entities. Dedicated yellow teams, such as the Hand of Tyr, are automatically assigned towards missions dealing with high-threat polymorphs, but any strike team may be assigned to engage polymorphs of lower threat class, though they may be requisitioned as field support by a yellow team in the case of an escalation. Despite the danger they present on the field, there are several dozen methods to engage with and potentially capture type yellow threat entities. Conditional polymorphs. If the conditions of a conditional polymorph transformation are known, they may be able to be prevented from occurring. If the conditions are impossible to prevent or prevention efforts fail, the overseer overlooking the observation area the type yellow is within gives the order to change the response level of that type yellow, and actions proceed from there based on the set response level. In engagement with dangerous conditional forms, where the prevention of conditions has failed, it is crucial to, if looking to capture, peacefully incapacitate, or, if looking to liquidate, kill the conditional polymorph hastily and without delay. Incapacitation is possible using conventional sedatives in the vast majority of cases. Unconditional polymorphs. It is essential to target an unconditional polymorph for capture or liquidation in such a manner that they do not have to react, as if given a chance to change shape, capture and liquidation become much harder. If the polymorph remains in a form that cannot be damaged, it may be prudent to retreat while monitoring the subject until the subject believes they are no longer in any danger, but still isolated. Once these conditions are achieved, the attempt at capture or liquidation may be resumed. Modeled polymorphs. If the observation area set up to monitor a modeled polymorph has functioned correctly, the assessment team assigned to the area will be able to provide an idea of each of the modeled polymorph's forms, so it is advised to ask for this or provide this to your team before engaging a modeled polymorph. If the order has been given not to liquidate a modeled polymorph, it is recommended to attempt to restrain it to prevent escape or further transformation. This is possible through the Polynet, Gen 1 Plus technology, an adaptive net that will adapt its size and shape to restrain any form inside it without being breached from the inside. Controlled polymorphs. Docile and fully identified controlled polymorphs are to be considered response level 3, unless an order that is given by an overseer says otherwise, and the overseer's order takes priority. If the order is given to kill a docile controlled polymorph, liquidation is to be done covertly and quickly, preferably through the use of a gray suit, along with the use of a sniper rifle or automatic firearms to accomplish both of those goals. Given the nature of controlled polymorphs, it is necessary to have a backup force concealed nearby, in the case of a failure, to quickly liquidate the controlled polymorph. If the order is given to capture the docile controlled polymorph, a covert strike team equipped with gray suits and tranquilizing ammunition is to be established in a designated area, while members from an assessment team deceive the controlled polymorph into following them to the strike team's designated area. From here, the strike team is to fire their tranquilizing ammunition at the controlled polymorph until it is incapacitated. The controlled polymorph is to be brought from the designated area to a nearby observation post and briefed about the GOC there, told not to engage with the local population. If the controlled polymorph does not comply, it is to be liquidated within the observation post. The observation area is to be partially demobilized, with some staff moved out of the observation area, though it is to stay partially manned and operated. Hostile or non-compliant controlled polymorphs are to be considered response level 4 unless an order that is given by an overseer says otherwise, and the overseer's order takes priority. If the order is given to kill a hostile controlled polymorph, a covert strike team, all equipped with gray suits, is to be sent, preferably at night for the cover of dark, out to search for the hostile controlled polymorph. The team must be equipped with sniper rifles to ensure a quick kill, and explosives are recommended to quickly kill and possibly fully destroy the controlled polymorph. Depending on the threat posed by a controlled polymorph's forms, white suits, and rarely orange suits, are likely to be approved by the overseer overlooking the liquidation of a hostile controlled polymorph, as long as the second mission, concealment goals, can reasonably be upheld. If a controlled polymorph previously considered hostile is found to be docile or even friendly, the same procedure as with a docile controlled polymorph is to be followed with further armed guards stationed in the room containing the controlled polymorph. True polymorphs. True polymorphs are never docile. They always warrant response level 4. If the order is given to kill a true polymorph, a strike team equipped with white suits and Mark III MPHDCA multipurpose ammunition, the predecessor round to the GOC's Black Bullet, composed of a silver jacket and a black osmium core with incendiary components, is to be sent to search for the true polymorph and engage it. This team is typically equipped with general-purpose machine gun weaponry, explosive ordnance, and ranged incendiary equipment to increase the chances of a kill. Sustained fire may be necessary to cause any meaningful damage. Esoteric vulnerabilities. A prevalent element in folklore and mythology surrounding polymorphic entities is the vulnerability to certain materials or substances. The list below notes the efficacy of several materials and methods that have been historically used to combat polymorphic entities. Destruction of the head or heart, 99%. Exposure to extreme heat or extreme cold, 95%. Exposure to cold iron, 88%. Exposure to standard kinetic trauma, 86%. Exposure to silver, 55%. Exposure to metallic elements that do not occur in nature, such as technetium, 18%. Exposure to other non-silver coinage metals, such as copper or gold, 17%. Exposure to non-silver precious metals, such as palladium and platinum, 8%. Exposure to the bones, blood, or skin of the animal or person therefore mimics, 2%. Exposure to wolfsbane, acnodium, if the subject's transformation is not already triggered by it, 1%.